Most people do not walk into a supermarket planning to waste money. They go in for a normal weekly shop, pick up the brands they know, look for a few offers, and expect the total to be more or less fair. But that is not how it always works. A basket can look sensible and still cost more than it should because the mistakes are small, quiet, and easy to miss. One shelf label, one pack size, one trusted brand, and the price starts climbing before you notice. Today, we are looking at 10 costly mistakes people make when shopping at Tesco, using familiar United Kingdom brands that appear in baskets every week. Stay with me, because the last one is not a product mistake at all. It is a shopping habit that keeps pulling money away week after week. Number 10. Walking past club card prices as if they do not matter. For many people, the first price they see still feels like the real price. That used to make sense. Now it often does not. On plenty of everyday items, the difference between the standard price and the club card price can be large enough to change the value of the whole basket. You see it on Heinz baked beans, Nescafe Gold Blend, Andrex Complete Clean, Fairy Max Power, and Weetabix. The item itself has not changed, the pack is the same. The only thing that changes is what you pay. That is why this catches people out so easily. It doesn't feel like a mistake because the product still looks familiar and the shelf still looks normal. A jar of coffee, a box of cereal, a pack of toilet rolls, a bottle by the sink. None of these feels dramatic on its own, yet when several of them go into the trolley at the higher price, the damage adds up far faster than most people expect. A lot of shoppers still think forgetting the card is a small slip. It is not always small anymore. In a shop built around separate prices for the same item, leaving those savings behind can quietly turn a careful basket into an expensive one. That is why this matters before anything else. If the starting point is wrong, the rest of the shop gets harder to control. And once someone gets used to glancing at the shelf without checking properly, another trap appears almost straight away. Number 9. Reaching for the smaller pack because the sticker looks kinder. This one seems sensible at first. You compare two packs, your eyes land on the lower amount, and you think you have made the careful choice. The smaller tub, the lighter pack, the shorter bottle. It feels easier on the wallet because the number in front of you is lower right now. But a lower headline price and a better deal are not the same thing. You can see this with Lurpak, Weetabix, Coca-Cola, and Fairy. The smaller option often looks more manageable, especially when money is tight. But once you compare what you are getting by weight or by litre, the larger size can work out better. Not every time, but often enough to matter. That is what makes this such a costly slip. It looks like caution while taking more value away. There is another problem hiding behind it. Small packs run out sooner. That means another trip, another chance to pick up things you did not plan to buy, and another total that creeps upward. So the smaller item does not only risk worse value on the shelf, it can also pull you back into the store faster than you expected. That is how a product that seems safer can end up draining more over the week. When shoppers focus only on the big number, they often miss the quiet clue that would have saved them. It sits right there on the shelf, much smaller than the main price, and most people hardly look at it. A lot of these money leaks look harmless until you slow down and really check the shelf. Subscribe now if you want more videos that break these shopping habits down in a clear and practical way. Number 8. Skipping the unit price and trusting the big number. This is where a lot of clever packaging wins. The main price is bold and easy to notice. The unit price is small and easy to ignore. But that tiny line is often the most useful thing in the whole aisle because it tells you what the item really costs, by weight, by litre, or by piece. That matters with everyday things such as Heinz baked beans, Branston baked beans, Kellogg's cornflakes, and Tesco cornflakes. Two products can look close in price at first glance, yet the unit cost shows a much wider gap. Without that second check, it is very easy to think you are choosing between similar value when you are not. That matters even more when brands play with shape and size. A taller box can look generous, a compact tin can look modest and cheap. An offer label can make a product feel safer than it really is. The unit price strips that away. It's not exciting, but it's often the most honest part of the shelf. A few seconds on that small line can change the whole decision. That is why people lose money here without feeling any pain in the moment. Nothing looks obviously wrong. The pack goes in, the trolley moves on, and the extra spend slips through unnoticed. Once this becomes a habit, the next mistake becomes very easy to justify because it feels familiar rather than careless.
Number 7. Believing the best-known brand must be worth the extra money. A familiar name does a lot of work before a shopper even touches the product. It brings memory, habit, and a feeling of safety. That is why so many baskets keep filling with the same labels year after year. The trouble begins when that comfort takes the place of comparison. This happens all over the store. Heinz beside Tesco on baked beans, Kellogg's beside Tesco on cereal. In some cases, the better-known brand may truly be better, but the real question is whether it is better enough to justify the extra money. That is the part many people never stop to ask. They buy the label they trust and move on. There is also a fear behind this. A cheaper version might disappoint. The taste may be a little different. The texture may not feel quite right. Nobody likes spending money on something that turns out to be a letdown, so people stay with the brand they know. Shops benefit from that hesitation because it keeps the premium in place without much resistance. And that is how trust turns into a quiet extra charge. This does not mean a famous label is always a bad buy. It means it should not get a free pass just because it is familiar. Some shoppers are paying more for recognition than for real improvement. Once that pattern settles in, bright shelf messages become even more powerful because the mind is already half switched off. Number 6. Treating a low price sign like proof of real value. A large sign saying "everyday low price" sounds reassuring. It suggests the store has done the work for you. It says this is the one to notice. For tired shoppers, that kind of message is hard to resist. The problem is that a lower price sign does not always mean the smartest buy in that section. This can happen with Heinz, Fairy, Lurpark, PG Tips, and Weetabix. A product may be cheaper than it was before, and that is fine as far as it goes, but it may still not be the strongest value on the shelf. Another size, another format, or even another brand nearby may still work out better. The sign points the eye in one direction and then hopes the brain stops there. That is why these labels need a calm second look. They answer one question only: has this item come down? They do not answer the more useful question: is this the best way to spend money here today? If a shopper forgets that difference, a lower price message becomes a shortcut to a weak decision. The shelf looks clearer, but the value may not be. And once a person starts trusting the sign more than the numbers, it becomes much easier to pay extra for something that feels neat, tidy, and convenient without asking what that convenience is actually costing. Number 5. Paying more for easy formats that give you less. Not every expensive choice looks expensive. Some of the most effective ones look neat, controlled, and practical. A smaller coffee jar that fits nicely in the cupboard, a tidy row of little bean pots, a smaller soft drink pack that seems easier to manage. These things do not look wasteful, they look organized. That is exactly why they are so easy to overpay for. Look at Heinz Snap Pots, smaller Coca-Cola multi-packs, or compact jars of Nescafe. The product inside may still be fine, the issue is the format. Once food or drink is split into little portions or packed in a more convenient shape, the value often gets thinner. People end up paying extra for packaging, ease, and presentation. The clever part is that these versions feel disciplined. They seem like the sensible option because they look smaller and more controlled. But control is not the same as value. A shopper may walk away feeling careful while spending more for less actual product than the standard pack sitting nearby. That is how convenience can become one of the easiest ways to stretch a receipt. It does not happen in a dramatic way, it happens in little steps. a nicer shape here, a smaller portion there, a tidy format that slips into the trolley without much thought. And that same way of thinking leads directly to another mistake that sounds logical but often is not. Number 4. Assuming the biggest pack is always the smartest buy. After seeing the problem with smaller sizes, some shoppers swing too far in the other direction. They start believing that the largest version must be the answer every time. More tea bags, more rolls, more cereal, more cans. It sounds sensible because it feels like planning ahead. Yet the biggest pack is not always the most sensible choice for that week, that household, or that shelf. This shows up with Coca-Cola, Andrex, PG Tips, and Weetabix. A larger pack may lower the price per item, but only if the gap is good enough and only if you are going to use that amount properly. Sometimes the bigger option ties up more money than necessary. Sometimes the saving is tiny. Sometimes another size nearby works out almost the same without asking for the bigger spend. There is also the matter of use. A giant pack is not helpful if it sits too long, gets forgotten, or simply takes up space while the household keeps buying around it. Good shopping is not just about getting more, it's about matching what you buy to how you actually live. That is why size alone should never decide the purchase. People often mistake volume for value. They are not the same thing. A huge pack can still be poor buying if the shelf maths are weak or the product does not suit the way you shop. Once people stop asking that question, another costly habit starts to look respectable when it really is just polished.
Number 3. Letting premium-looking packs talk you into spending more. Some items almost sell themselves before you read a single word. The design is smoother, the colors are calmer, and the whole thing looks more carefully made. That can make a product feel worth the extra money even before you compare it with anything else. You can see that with Andrex, Fairy, and Lurpak. These are trusted names and many people buy them almost without thinking. But a smart-looking pack can create the feeling of higher quality even when the practical value is not especially strong. Cost per roll, cost per wash, cost per kilogram, those plain measures often matter more than the polished image on the front. The danger here is not that premium items are always poor. The danger is that shoppers stop asking basic questions once the pack gives off a quality signal. The design creates a shortcut in the mind. It says, "This is the good one," and that can be enough to end the comparison too soon. A polished look can hide a weak bargain very easily. That is how respectable brands keep money flowing out in small amounts, not by shocking the shopper, but by making the extra spend feel reasonable, even when it has not really been tested. Over time, that weakens the whole basket, especially when the same way of thinking is applied to the store itself. Number 2. Thinking one good Tesco deal means the whole shop must be competitive. This is a wider mistake and it changes the whole basket. A shopper finds a few strong prices, sees a few useful offers, and then starts treating the whole shop as if it must be the best place for everything else too. That is how comfort begins to replace checking. There is no doubt that Tesco can be useful on selected lines. A strong club card offer on coffee, tea, beans, cereal, or household goods can make certain items look very good. But that doesn't mean every section is equally sharp. One smart buy does not automatically pull the rest of the basket into good value with it. The problem is convenience. People know the layout, know the routine, know where the things they usually buy are sitting, and do not want to break the rhythm. That makes shopping easier, but it can also make the basket softer. Once a person starts assuming the whole shop is working in their favor, the careful comparisons begin to disappear. That is where a decent trip can turn into an expensive habit. A supermarket does not need to be the cheapest in every corner to keep people loyal. It only needs to be good enough in the places shoppers notice most. The rest can slip by quietly. And when that happens, the final mistake becomes the one that sits behind everything else. Number 1. Filling the trolley on habit instead of checking each choice.
This is the one that holds all the others together. Not one label, not one offer, not one pack size, but the way people shop when they stop really looking. The route stays the same, the brands stay the same, the choices stay the same. It feels efficient, yet it often means the shopper is repeating old decisions in a store that keeps changing its prices, formats, and offers. That is how money disappears without any obvious mistake. Weetabix goes in because it always does, Heinz follows, then Fairy, Andrex, Verpack, PG Tips, Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, Nescafe. None of those names is the problem by itself. The trouble starts when they go into the trolley without comparison, without pause, and without asking whether they are the right buy this week. Routine can feel helpful because it saves effort, but saved effort is not the same as saved money. The less attention the shopper gives, the more power the shelf takes. And once the shelf is leading the decisions, value starts depending on luck rather than judgment. That is the quiet habit that keeps costing people the most. The strongest shoppers still buy familiar brands when the numbers make sense. They still use Tesco when it works for them, but they do not hand the whole shop over to memory. They compare pack sizes, they check the small print, they question the bright sign. They let the numbers speak before the habit does. That is usually the difference between a trolley that looks normal and one that is actually well built. A Tesco shop can look perfectly normal and still cost more than it should when small mistakes keep stacking up across the basket. The good news is that once you notice them, they get much easier to avoid. Check the unit price, question the familiar brand, and never assume a bright offer means the best deal. If this video helped you shop a little smarter, like the video so more people can see it. Subscribe for more simple supermarket breakdowns, and tell me in the comments which Tesco mistake you think catches the most shoppers out.